Good morning and welcome to Zen Fits. Beautiful Friday here on Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world, but then you too are at the center of the world. So today my talk is sparked by a friend of mine who had gone to the Union Theological Seminary in Richmond, and he had posted a cup. It said the Union Theological Seminary. He said it was his favorite cup. He became a minister. And suddenly I remembered, and I said, I wish I had that cup, a cup like that, because I too went to the Union Theological Seminary in 1969 after a heartfelt calling to be a minister. I went there, and I got accepted and went there and got a room, and it was over, and had a family and little boy, and got a room and started Hebrew class, and then they reviewed my application and rejected it. And so I'm reflecting on this, and I'm writing about it and talking to you about it because, I think we all have, turning points in our life, and usually they are a great disappointment. And yet that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. So, and I can recall the how it happened just as if it were yesterday. I had just actually I went there. The whole story was that they had accepted. I was waiting for. I was a lone wolf. I mean, I had this massive spiritual experience, which I got in touch with God and Jesus and the whole thing, and what am I going to do with this awakening? And so I'm going to be a minister. I'll go down to, I'll become an emissary of my Father. That's what a minister is, an emissary of God. And so anyway, I had a friend who was a Presbyterian minister and had gone to that seminary, and I liked him. So, and I had been to a Presbyterian church a couple of times. So I thought, well, that would be where, and it was in Richmond, so I thought that's where I would go. So I applied using him, he recommended me. And they didn't, it was in the summer, and I was waiting I went to this friend's cabin in Vermont. We stayed up there while I was waiting to see if they would accept me or not. And they were tardy in accepting me, so I got a job teaching at a private school up in Vermont, and then they said, you're accepted. So then I said, well, I just signed a contract to teach, and so let me wait until that's over. And so then at the middle of the year, I left at Christmas time and went down to seminary, and they took me in and set me up, and then reviewed my application and rejected it. And I can understand why, because in 1969, a lot of people were getting calls to do a lot of things. And I was not a good insurance policy. I had no money. So they would have to finance me, I guess. Maybe that was the reason, I don't know. However, I remember the day I was sitting in I'd started Hebrew class, and I was sitting in the cafeteria having lunch, and the music just came out by the Edwin Hawkins singers, Oh Happy Day, Oh Happy Day, walking when Jesus walks. Oh God, I just remember the music, Oh Happy Day when Jesus walks. And the administrator came in and says, come, I have to speak to you. Took me out in the hall, put his arm around me, said, they rejected your application. And bam, out of the blue. Oh, I cried, and that. So finally, packed up my wife and kid, and we went to stay at her mother's house. So anyway, that was a turning point. And I think we all perhaps have turning points like that where we think we're going one way and we end up going another way. And so what happened to me was that instead of going into Christianity, I went east. I went east, young man. So I went into yoga. And a friend of mine, actually, oddly enough, I just thought of this, oddly enough, the David Voss was the minister that was my friend and recommended me, and his sister had a brother. And so I had met this was up in Northern Virginia where we were teaching. And I remember meeting her brother. And the first time I met him, he'd just come back from Afghanistan. And he had pockets full of hash. Then the next time I met him, he had the autobiography of a yogi. And he didn't have any hash. I thought that was interesting. And then I found out he had started practicing yoga with this teacher guru in Cleveland, Alice Christensen, the Light of Yoga Society. And she had an Indian guru named Swami Rama. I had been living at Rama's at a yacht base, and we lived on a house. When I decided to go into the ministry, I was living on a houseboat in Miami, docked at Rama Yacht Basin. And I had written a book of poems called Birth of a Soul by Rama. And here was Swami Rama, a real Swami Rama. Bam. Bam, came together. So having been dropped out of the seminary, I made a beeline for Cleveland. And I went to this yoga teacher, Alice Christensen, and I want to be your student. And then that was and I became, I went into the mysticism of yoga and finally ended up in Buddhism, and then I'm not really a Buddhist, so I ended up here talking to you, many years ago. That was my holy grail of disappointment when the seminary kicked me out and said, sorry, Charlie, you can't get to the tuna factory. Remember that cartoon? It's my favorite cartoon. Or ad, sorry, Charlie the tuna. Always just wanted to go to the tuna factory, and always, sorry, Charlie, you can't go to the tuna factory. You're not good enough, So, that's part of my karma, part of my neurosis. Recreating that, so, I have to look back on my life, and I've recreated that, sorry, Charlie, you're not good enough. It's kind of like, this was my favorite yoga story. So there was a yoga master, and there was the disciple, and he wanted to please the master, so he kept making, he would make a cup, a beautiful mug, and he would bring it with some coffee, and he would give it to the master, and get out of here, it's no good. And so he kept making better and bigger cups, and every time the master would say no. And so he kept, why can't I please you, master? Why can't I set my cup? He says, I don't like coffee. So anyway, I just thought I'd recount that story because when the longer you live, the more context or wider angle you get to see your life, and the turns that we take, and the disappointments, and the surprises, and the tacking. It's like a sailing ship. It's too bad we don't sail in them anymore. If you have to go get a little one, but they tack. In other words, you don't go straight. You go like this. You go like a snake. You go like a sidewinder. You go like you flow with the wind. You tack with the wind. You see. So our life is like that. But there is an intention. There is a direction that our life takes. You see. But when you're on the sailing boat, you really can't. I'm going this way. Oh, this way forever. No, I shouldn't go that way. And you're going. Oh, you're going the wrong way. We should go that way. But we can't see the intention of the sailboat. We can't see the intention of our life, you see, which is really the one directing, the one at the rudder, but it's an invisible hand. You might say it's God. You might say it's God, you see. So it's our heart yearning that directs our life. But in order to get there, we have to be tacking. So wherever you are, it looks like you're not going in the right way, because you're on the sailboat. You're not overlooking the sailboat. In other words, you're not watching it from a satellite. You're on it. We're on the sailboat of life, and we're always tacking. So if you ask your heart, if you go deep into the heart, and you just surrender the worries and fears of the mind and ask your heart, as if you were asking God. God dwells in with you. God dwells in you as you. God dwells within you as you see. So if you want to ask God something, ask your heart. What do you want? What do you really want, you see? That is where the intention is activated that moves your life, you see. That is where course changes happen. So many times in my life, when I felt like I was going in the wrong direction, I said, wait a minute. What do I really want? What is my heart course? What is my heartfelt course, you see? And when I recognized that and accepted it, immediately my life would change. And the way I was going would drop off, you see. And so I reflect on this today, stimulated by this friend of mine posting this picture of this cup. And to me, it was kind of like the Holy Grail. In other words, it was a life-changing cup, you see. I don't know where I'd be if I stayed in that seminary. I certainly wouldn't be the person I am now. I certainly wouldn't have had the adventure of the spiritual path and the discovery and meeting the yoga masters that I've met and the spiritual experiences that I've had and all that's been unfolded, which has been, if you look at my life institutionally, credentially, it's a failure. You know, I have no degrees, no credentials of the university, no authority behind me. I don't even have a guru behind me, a disciple of a guru, you know. Although I do have some pictures, you see, on the wall there, and over there, on the wall there, you see. And then I have a whole conglomerate, you know, a whole shelf full of artifacts from my life, you see. But I just share that one turning point and how what appears to be a bitter cup is often, most often, and always perhaps, the Holy Grail. So, thanks for dropping in, and I'll see you next time.